Good morning. Welcome to United Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Meg Whaley, and I'm the facilitator for today's service. Helping me out is Erin Hurwitz, our United lovely tech person. Thank you very much, Erin, for making this all work and getting things done at the last minute when I forget things. I want to extend a special welcome to guests here, and also if you're joining us online and you've not been with us before, I'd like to extend a special welcome to you as well. Happy New Year, everybody. Okay, show of hands in the audience, how many people stayed up till midnight? All right. 10:30, I was in bed. Woohoo! And I thought that was pretty good. I was happy I made it till 10:30. So, yeah, just no desire to stay up last night whatsoever. I was so tired. Anyway, so Happy New Year, yes. Let's see, what else? We have coffee after the service, coffee and conversation down in the fellowship hall. So please come down. And what? Herring? Oh, that's a New Year's tradition, right? It's like good luck to eat a piece of herring on New Year's Day. I want good luck, but I don't know if I want herring. Wine sauce. Creamy, okay. Huh. My dad really likes it. He always put it in pea soup. In pea soup, like, yeah, on top of his split pea soup and ate it like that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I love pea soup, but not with herring. No. Anyway, moving on. Next Sunday, Reverend David will be in the pulpit. And I have a couple of announcements from the floor. Come on up, Kay.
Okay.
No. Don't start talking until you get here.
Okay, we need more people to sign up for the coffee hour. It just involves coming and making the coffee. There's real specific directions. Mostly you don't have to bring anything because we have a lot of stash in the refrigerator, freezer, cupboards, but you can bring your own thing if you want. Coffee's there, everything's all set to go. You just have to put the coffee on. So this is the sign-up sheet, and we're like blank slate here. So feel free to sign up. I'll put this on the ledge going downstairs.
Thank you, Kay. And now we will light our chalice. May this flame kindle within us the warmth of compassion, the glow of love, the fire of commitment, and the light of truth. Here together we scatter and nurture seeds of spirit, service, and community. Excellent. All right, so to start this show off, this is a service that both gives me super high anxiety and also is my favorite service of the year, because I never know if people are going to come and do stuff. And I always say that. And then every year we typically go over an hour. And I'm like, okay, good. But being New Year's Day, that might be a different experience today because we don't maybe have as many people here. But whatever happens, happens. And which actually leads me to tell you that every year I pick a word for the year. I don't make resolutions. I pick a word, and I've talked about this like 80 zillion times before, so I see everybody out there nodding their head. Yes, Meg, we know this. And this year, my word is serendipity. So the serendipity of today, and I took a picture of a definition that I really liked. So serendipity, recognized as one of the most beautiful words in the English language, serendipity is defined as the occurrence of making pleasant and desirable discoveries by pure accident. It is also deemed as one of the most difficult words to translate in English due to its whimsical and magical nature. So I'm going to be looking for a lot of serendipity today. Also, Emma shared with me someone that she follows on Instagram, and I have to look up her name again because I don't remember it. Andrea Gibson. And we were having a discussion at her house about all of this and many millions of other things. And one of the things that Andrea Gibson said is that defining the challenges in her life, or that she wants to define the challenges in her life in a way that opens her heart. And she thinks about, instead of looking at a challenge or something that irritates her or bugs her, like, instead of closing it, how can I let this open my heart instead of close it? So things that happen during the day or your week or whatever life, she suggests that chemotherapy is not a great place to start this. But like the little things that happen during your day, like, how can I let this open my heart instead of close it? So that is what I'm going to be working on this year. And I would encourage you all to pick a word. And if you'd like to share it with me, that would be awesome. I'd love to hear other people's words and what they mean. So if you have a word already and you want to get up and just share your word today, or if something just, comes to you serendipitously in the service, you could share that as well. Okay, so I think we're ready to start. And I am going to sit down in front so that people can come up here. Oh no, you know what? We have to do joys and sorrows first. So let's do joys and sorrows. So first we'll do joys and sorrows, and then we'll start Coffee House. So joys and sorrows are a way that we share with each other the, good things and things that help us open our hearts even more during the week. If you'd like to share something with us, please say your name and place a stone in the water, sending your ripples out into the wider community.
Okay, my name.
All right, now it's time to start the Coffee House. So if you have something to sing or read, if you could come up here, that would be awesome. If you are dancing or something else, right down here would be an awesome spot. And Aaron, if you could direct anybody too, if they need to do something different, that would be awesome. Okay, all right, let it begin.
So this is my brother Carl.
Good morning. Hello.
And I was having a hard time containing my excitement on the drive over because singing with him is like one of my favorite things. And we're gonna sing Kathy's song.
I hear the drizzle of the rain, like a memory it falls, soft and warm continuing, tapping on my roof and walls. And from the shelter of my mind, through the windows of my eyes, I gaze beyond the rain-drenched streets to England where my heart lies. My mind's distracted and diffused, my thoughts are many 50 miles away. They lie with you when you're asleep and kiss you when you start your day. And the song I was writing is left undone. I don't know why I spend my time writing songs I can't believe, with words that stare and strain to rhyme. And so you see I've come to doubt all that I once held as true. I stand alone without beliefs. The only truth I know is you. And as I watch the drops of rain weave their weary paths and I know that I am like the rain, there but for the grace of you go I.
Today, Susan and I would like to dance the bolero for you. The bolero is the slowest of the Latin dances, where your legs make a unique triangle shape. Susan, would you like to demonstrate?
So every now and again you will see that during the dance.
When we first started to learn the bolero, we found the basic step to be quite difficult because it involves short, medium, and long steps. Also, your feet need to slide on the floor, which is difficult on carpet, but we'll do our best. So here's our bolero.
Following that, I just gotta say, Chuck Shepard's sons were cleaning out his house this fall, I guess, and I went over and chatted with them. And I discussed Paul and Susan's dancing and how we so enjoyed Chuck's response to their talent and skill for the rest of us that were just like awestruck because we're left feet. I found out Chuck was a dance instructor. I never knew that. And so whoops and applause were true and genuine because he knew the skill that Susan and Paul took. So I feel like we need to respond verbally with our awe instead of just sitting there with our jaw laying on the floor, and share our awe and our amazement at the skill of people doing things like that, because they need to know that we appreciate it. And Chuck, we hear you.
So Sal got some blackout shades. She likes to sleep in it when she can, and so these shades go down and it's darkness. I have to set the alarm because it's like 9:30. And I think it's midnight, and so I raced out of bed this morning and raced over here, and my jaw really hurts because the whole time you guys were dancing, I was just like. And I remember those whoops from Chuck. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. So that's cool. He's a dance instructor. So I'd like to share writing. I have there's a magazine called The Sun, and they have different themes every month. And if you send in something on that theme, and if they print it, or if they publish it in there, then you get like a free subscription or something. But it's just a cool thing. The theme this time was haircuts. So, and my mom was funny because she would, I'm a teenager in the 70s, and I wanted my haircut this way. And she said, yeah. And then she'd do it the way she wanted it. And so one time she made me she wanted me to be, by the way, your parents want you to be somebody else sometimes, or they want to be the person they want you to be. So sometimes, and so, but she always wanted me to be like the Italian guy, with nice suits, always looks nice, wear cologne, classy guy. I want to be a classy. You're right, Chet, right? She got this. This is what and I was a total hippie. I had that torn jeans, and I had my hair I had grew long hair, and I was just a train wreck. And then one time she's like, would you be willing to, go to my girl? She's also a beautician, so she would always do my hair. So would you be willing to go to my friend Lisa at the beauty shop and have her do your hair this one time. I always wanted to make her happy. So I said, okay, I go. And she gave me like 3 different products I had to use. My hair was this helmet. It was just slick back like this. The picture is somewhere. If I find this thing, I'll bring it in. You guys won't recognize me. But I walked in the door, and she's like, okay, then you got to do this, and you blow dry it this way. And that's the last thing I would do. And so, but I did it for her, and I walked in the door, and she's shaking while she's taking the picture. Oh, my God, this son I've always wanted. And I said, good, because it's going. And I washed it right off. So I was not that guy. But anyway, the haircut story was a big one for me. And this is the story, the haircut. My mother was a hairdresser. I used to brag that I never had to pay for a haircut. In 1977, when I was 18, Peter Frampton was big, and I got my straight hair permed for free. I loved it and the attention. As a child, my mother would use Dippity-Doo hair gel. Do you know this stuff? Yeah. Dippity-Doo hair gel to harden the high wave that she styled on my brother and I for church. I didn't mind or care because that's what she did. Once, when I was prepping for homecoming dance, she wanted to help me and started applying the gel, and I threw a fit, and she never offered the gel again. It was in the early 70s, and I started to gravitate to the shaggy, natural hippie look. My mom didn't like it, but accommodated my new fashion choice. Our kitchen was her salon. That's funny. Our kitchen was her salon. My aunts would come there with their torpedo bras over the kitchen sink, and then smell the hair dye and the smell of hair dye filled the house. I would listen as they barked about husbands and family gossip. Once when I came home from college, I let her cut my hair short. She then applied a series of hair products and used a blow dryer to form a perfect helmet. I looked so clean cut, she was so happy. I felt it was like my gift to her, and I told her I was going to now wash it as she quickly took a picture. In 1989, I got married and decided to grow my hair long. I had a ponytail that made my mom disappointed. She was a real trooper and trimmed it along with my brothers and all of her grandchildren. A few years later, I was visiting her, and she made a subtle comment about the ponytail. I felt the need right then to make her happy, a moment I'll never regret. I said, do you want to cut it right off right now? And she leapt up, and she sat me down. She got the scissors and chopped it off, and she was so happy. I kept the tail to this day. 5 years, 3 kids later, my 3-year-old daughter was frustrated with her hair blowing in her face in the car, and she was always brushing it out of her eyes. We got home, and while my wife was on the phone, she went into the bathroom, closed the door, and started cutting her hair with a pair of scissors. When my wife found her, she scolded her, cleaned up the hair, and put her in the tub to rinse. She then called my mom to try to fix the chop job. When my mother arrived, she told my wife to collect the large tufts of hair from the garbage can and save them. My wife did just that. A month later, my mom and 3-year-old daughter died in a car accident. I still have both of the tufts of hair and the ponytail and the treasure of the memories they summon. Thank you. So, can I do one more thing? Yeah. So I want, you guys want to sing with me? Sure. Come on. So, this one has 3 responses. The first one is, hello. Can you do that? Hello. Here's your real Christian. Hi, my Lord. Here we go. Hi, my Lord. Hi, my Lord. And the third one goes, hi, my Lord. And the third one. Hi, my Lord. Ready? Hi, my Lord. People keep coming, but the train has gone. People keep coming, but the train has gone. You ready? Mary had a baby, ah Lord. Mary had a baby, ah Lord. Mary had a baby, ah Lord. The people keep coming, but the train has gone. What did you name him? Ah Lord. What did you name him? Ah Lord. What did you name him? Ah Lord. The people keep coming, but the train has gone. You named King Jesus. Ah Lord. Name King Jesus. Ah Lord. Name King Jesus. Ah Lord. The people keep coming, but the train has gone. Who heard the singing? Ah Lord. Who heard the singing? Ah Lord. Who heard the singing? Ah Lord. The people keep coming, but the train has gone. The shepherds are singing. Ah Lord. The shepherds are singing. Ah Lord. Shepherds are singing. Ah Lord. The people keep coming, but the train has gone. Angels went around him. Ah Lord. The angels went around him. Ah Lord. Angels went around him. Ah Lord. The people keep coming, but the train has gone. Moving in the elements. Ah Lord. She's moving in the elements. Ah Lord. She's moving in the elements. Ah Lord. The people keep coming, but the train has gone.
I just want to say one thing about this. When you came to your very first service at our old building, we were doing a service like this, and Chet got up and he did this song, and he was so impressed by the response that he got from us that he couldn't believe us. He didn't
I love this service. I marked the calendar. January 1, I go to church. Cool idea.
Been doing that. Okay. I have a poem by Abdullah Shoaib. It's called Pretty Ugly. I'm very ugly, so don't try to convince me that I am a very beautiful person, because at the end of the day, I hate myself in every single way. And I'm not going to lie to myself by saying there is beauty inside of me that matters. So, rest assured, I will remind myself that I am a worthless, terrible person, and nothing you say will make me believe I still deserve love. Because, no matter what, I am not good enough to be loved. And I am in no position to believe that beauty does exist within me. But whenever I look in the mirror, I always think, am I as ugly as people say? Okay, that sets you on edge, right? The neat thing about this poem is now I will read it from the bottom up. Am I as ugly as people say? I always think, because whenever I look in the mirror, beauty does exist within me, and I am in no position to believe that I am not good enough to be loved. Because no matter what, I still deserve love. And nothing you say will make me believe that I am a worthless, terrible person. So, rest assured, I will remind myself there is beauty inside me no matter what happens. And I'm not going to lie to myself by saying I hate myself in every single way, because at the end of the day, I'm a very beautiful person. So don't try to convince me that I'm very ugly. How about that? I have a couple of poems. Excuse me.
One my son wrote. It's really short. And it's about winter, so I thought I would share it. And it doesn't have a title. And it goes like this. Time suspended in wind, each stinging snowflake a frozen kiss on my cheek. Drinking from spring water, strangely warmer than air. He lives, Crest Spring is his bakery. There is a spring that bubbles right up on his property, so that's the spring that he's talking about. The other poem I have is by Annie Alexander Bingham, and it was a poem that she wrote for Ruth Ginsburg. And the title is It Is Enough. It is enough to know that the atoms of my body will remain, to think of them rising through the roots of a great oak, to live in the leaves, branches, twigs, perhaps to feed the crimson peony, the blue iris, the broccoli, or rest on water, freeze and thaw with the seasons. Some atoms might become a bit of fluff on the wing of a chickadee, to feel the breeze, know the support of air. And some might drift up and up into space, stardust returning from whence it came. It is enough to know that as long as there is a universe, I am a part of it.
So this is serendipity, because this morning I was thinking about how Meg feels every time we do this and how she worries about we're not going to have enough stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, what can I do as a fill-in if we need it? And so this is serendipity because of that. And it's also serendipity because of what I'm talking about. I wanted to share with you how I ended up transcribing 2 World War I diaries. My grandfather fought in World War I. He was at the Somme, he was at Ypres, he was in Italy. And I never knew anything about the war and what happened with him because he wouldn't talk about it. I knew 2 stories. One was that he fought in Italy, and he mentioned that he took a couple of prisoners and that the storms in that area of northern Italy were really, really severe. And the other story was that he was somewhere in France and he jumped down into a trench and he jumped into a billy can full of boiling water, scalded his leg really, really badly, insisted on walking back to the back lines, and they took one look at him and they sent him back to England to recover, where he had a stroke of luck because nobody seemed to know he was there. He wasn't part of the paperwork. And so he went out onto the Newcastle Commons every day to shoot zeppelins. But because nobody knew he was there, he went back to his mother's house and slept there at night. Until one day he bumped into a sergeant major who happened to know him and said, oh, what are you doing here? And he explained. And at that point he said, well, I'm going to have to put you into the system. And so then he got sent back to Italy. So I desperately wanted to know about what happened to him. And I had no way of finding out because by this time he was dead. So one day my father mentioned to me that his very good friend, my grandfather's very good friend, Ebb, who had been through World War I with him, and the 2 families were really, really close because of that. Eb had written a diary that his daughter Kathleen had. And she mentioned this to my father. And I was so excited. I thought if I could just get hold of this diary, I would be able to find out what happened to my grandfather. So I called her right away. I was in England. And she told me she had just given the diary to some woman who was going to transcribe them. And I thought, well, you know, I'll just wait until they're transcribed, and then I'll be able to find out what happened to my father, because he was with Eb. Well, it took quite a while and nothing happened. And then suddenly I found out that this woman, it was just too difficult for her to just transcribe it. So she gave the diaries back to Kathleen. The reason it was difficult, if you think about a little tiny diary that would go in a man's pocket, it was almost 100 years old at this point. It was written in pencil, so it was somewhat faded. You have to be able to understand someone's handwriting. And it's also written in code. You really don't, he knew what he was writing about, but you don't understand it until you start looking at it. And so anyway, I said, well, I would really like to see the diaries. So she sent the diaries to my father, and there were 4 of them. My father was in his late 80s. He's not techie at all. Bless his heart. He found out how to scan documents, and he scanned all 4 diaries and sent them to me. I thought, oh, piece of cake, you know, there's not much on each page. I'll just be able to whip through this. Well, it took me 2 years to do it. And I had all of the problems that she had. And I also felt that it's one thing to just transcribe the words, but if you don't have any background to what was going on, you have no idea what it means. So that's why it took me so long to do this diary, transcribe the diary. And I did get it done. And I sent it to Kathleen, and she was absolutely thrilled. And then my father said to me, oh, I've got my father's diary. And I thought, why didn't you tell me you had my grandfather's diary? I think it basically had, he forgot he had it. And so my grandfather's diary was only the last 18 months of the war. But I got the diary. And, you know, I was really relieved to have the other one done because it took me so long. So now I'm starting again. My grandfather had this beautiful handwriting, flowery. I mean, you know, the loops went down, and he's got this diary that's a tiny little diary, and everything's looping into everything else. But I managed to transcribe that diary, which was really, really fascinating. I found out a lot about him. I felt very close to him because in the diary pages, he had included all sorts of things, like a little French flag, a picture of somebody who was part of his group. There were little tiny pressed flowers, you know, and I thought in amongst all that muck and mud, he found a flower, he found beauty in that awful situation. And so I felt really, really quite privileged to be able to do that. So I have, this is Eb Ensel's diary, and what I did was for each entry, if there was something that was in code or something that needed to be explained, I wrote an explanation. I also plotted out on maps where he had been, so I've got little maps in there. And then I did the one for my grandfather. I did the same thing, you know, maps of Italy, where he was, and then I made copies of some of the pages in my grandfather's diary, just as an example of his handwriting and what was in there. And I won't go into what they wrote in here because it's, you know, very long and involved, but it was just such a privilege to be able to do that and to be by the time I was finished, these diaries were over 100 years old. And it was just such a privilege to do it. And the diaries have been put in all sorts of places now. My father was sending them out to all sorts of people, and I had to give permission for them to use the diaries for their research and stuff. So I just thought I would share that with you.
Okay. All right, we'll sing one more.
Y'all can sing too.
Yeah, please sing. We're going to sing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. So if you know the chorus, sing along. Or if you know the verses too.
looking over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. I saw a band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I'm sometimes up and sometimes down, coming for to carry me home. But still my soul is heavenly bound, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. And if you get there before I do, coming for to carry me home, tell all my friends that I'm coming too, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
All right. Thank you, everybody. That was awesome. I'm going to extinguish the flame, but not the glow of love or the fire of commitment or the light of truth. Those we will keep in our hearts. We will after we'll end the service, and then we'll do it. Okay. And with that, I'm going to extinguish the flame. And I forgot the offering. So the offering will now be gratefully accepted. Swing low, sweet chariot.